Hello, I'm Paul Chartier. This is Heart of Gold. We have a special newcomer to Lexington, Michael Halligan. Welcome.
Paul, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Chicago?
Born and raised in Muscatine County, Iowa.
Yeah.
Coming here through the Chicago area. We
Yep.
lived in Hinsdale, Illinois for about 20 years.
You were up in Chicago how many years?
About 20 years.
Okay.
Yep.
And you were in Iowa then how many years before that? I'm
So-
not asking your age.
That's okay.
This isn't a math thing.
That's okay. Born and raised in Iowa, lived in Iowa for about 20 years. Spent some time in Missouri, some time in California, some time in New England, and a good amount of time in the Illinois and the Chicago area.
And welcome to Lexington.
Thank you. I love it.
You've been here how long?
About 18 months. The warmth of welcome has been phenomenal.
It is genuine.
Yep.
And when people visit here, they think, why is everybody so nice? And that's just the way it is here.
Well, you know, so one of the things that I find interesting, I think about my experiences growing up in Iowa, and Iowa is obviously influenced by agricultural economy. And I think Lexington and central and eastern Kentucky is very much influenced by agricultural economy as well.
Yes.
And it's that warmth of welcome, that desire to help one another, that you just see in that kind of a landscape. It's very cool.
So the transition from the Chicago hardness
Yeah.
to the climate here, how's the transition been for you?
Well, for us, it's actually been wonderful. We were ready for a change. We love the Chicago area. There's lots of stuff to do, but there's lots of stuff to do in Lexington as well. And the pace and the environment, it's just a warmer and more welcoming place for me and for us. And it's been wonderful.
And how has the transition been to God's Pantry?
You know, it's been really good. I've got 35 years of experience in the food and grocery product industry, over 20 working hunger relief either as a volunteer or a board member or an employee. And I was really very much ready to get back into hunger relief work. And God's Pantry Food Bank was the perfect opportunity for me. It's been really, really good.
For the handful of people that have never heard of God's Pantry, please explain what God's Pantry is all about.
So a little bit of history. God's Pantry Food Bank started in 1955. A woman by the name of Mim Hunt was born in the Lexington area, had moved away, lived in New York City for a while, came back to her beloved hometown and saw hunger and poverty in a different light and started serving those in need out of the back of her station wagon in 1955, started a pantry in the basement of her home. Today, that humble beginning is now a food bank that gathers and distributes enough food to provide nearly 29 million meals a year. We work with over 400 food pantry and meal programs across 50 counties in central and eastern Kentucky and provide assistance to nearly 250,000 people at risk of hunger.
How many employees at God's Pantry?
60.
With that breadth of geography,
Yep.
are you ever overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed, yes, but not to the point where we don't know what to do. The challenge in hunger relief is the never-ending risk of helping people at need. You know, the people that are at risk of hunger, and so we're constantly challenged with what's the next creative program, the next community that we need to help. The next individual who has an unfortunate circumstance that causes them to be hungry, and what do we do to help them? So is the task large? Yes. Is it overwhelming? Not necessarily overwhelming, but there's a lot to do.
The human nature, people may not want to admit that they need help. They've got pride.
Yep.
How is the transition from their need to your supply done in a respectful way?
So it's all about the community, right? I often tell people that you don't end hunger in a food bank. You end hunger through a food bank, getting goods and services out into the neighborhood, out into the community where hunger exists. And there are wonderful resources all across central and eastern Kentucky, individuals who care about their hometown, about their county, and it's because of that pride, and they want to help their neighbors. And so those individuals who recognize a need in a hometown, in a county, we rely heavily on them because that's where the close-knit community comes into play. And that's how you ultimately help someone. To your point, there are a lot of people who don't want to admit they need help, but they're not afraid to admit that they need help to a friend. And it's that network of friendship that allows us to then do the work that we do.
You came in, you're learning the area, you're learning the food bank.
Yep.
What are the biggest challenges?
So one of the challenges is both a blessing and a challenge, right? So one of the things that I think is so wonderful about Central and Eastern Kentucky is the pride and loyalty of hometown, of the county where one was born and raised, or the county where one lives. That's a wonderful blessing. It's also a challenge because you're trying to, as somebody from Muscatine County, Iowa, trying to understand the needs of Pikeville or Magoffin County or Clark County or Hazard. And so it takes a little bit of time to develop relationships and to understand the landscape of a particular community. And it hasn't necessarily been a challenge in that it's not insurmountable, but one needs to be respectful to understand the people that you're working with and to help them know that you really are there to provide a resource, whatever resource they need to help address the issues that they're facing.
You have a magnificent warehouse.
Yeah, we do. We're very lucky.
How does food get into the warehouse?
So there's three main sources of food that come through God's Pantry Food Bank. The first is donations from the food and grocery product industry. So the way to kind of think about that is if you walk through a Kroger or a Walmart or a Meijer or a local grocery store in rural Kentucky, we're getting donations from all of those retail stores. We're getting donations from the manufacturers that provide product into those stores from wholesalers all over the country.
How does it get from that store in Hazard either to the local warehouse or up to Lexington? So
a couple of different ways. Oftentimes we have trucks that are going to grocery stores all over the area, and we're picking up short-coated product that for whatever reason isn't selling as quickly as the store would like. We're bringing that product back to our warehouse, we're sorting that product, and then we're fulfilling orders for the agencies, the food pantries, and the meal programs that we work with. So it's us picking up product. Or we're using commercial transportation for stuff that's in, potatoes in Idaho, or apples in Michigan, or product at a manufacturer in Illinois or Omaha or wherever. We're using commercial transportation, and we're bringing that product into the food bank and then sorting and distribute it back out to the programs that we work with.
You've already got the network of supply. Any missing links in that supply chain? And anything that you need that you don't have right now?
Well, so I think there's always an opportunity for how big does one need to be, right? So funding is a critically important piece of the work that we do. We're distributing between $40 and $45 million worth of goods a year on a $6.5 million budget. So the return on that investment is pretty amazing, but we still have to raise $6.5 to $7 million every year to do that work. So fundraising is an important part of what we do. We're constantly looking at our fleet of trucks. We started with a station wagon in 1955. Today we have 14 semi-tractor trailers and large box trucks, so there's maintenance, there's repairs, there's ongoing things that we do to keep that fleet on the road delivering product all over Central and Eastern Kentucky.
Michael, the food gets into the warehouse.
Yep.
Then what happens to it?
So we're actually a fairly automated system. What we do is we provide visibility of our inventory to all of the agencies that we work with. And they can literally go online on a secure website and order product that we then pick in our warehouse, prepare that order, and ship that order to a pantry or a soup kitchen or a shelter somewhere in Central or Eastern Kentucky. It's sort of like an eBay or an Amazon.com kind of approach with visibility to all of those donated goods that we've received. There's also two other aspects of the program. We purchase a lot of product. So product that's not donated that we're in short supply of, we will take some of that funding and buy product to supplement our product mix. We also, through the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, distribute USDA commodities that are provided by the federal government to the State Department of Ag. We receive those and then distribute those out in Central and Eastern Kentucky as well.
Please tell me, when you buy things, you're getting it at a discount.
About 10 cents on the dollar. Phenomenal discount.
Who's the negotiator for God's Pantry?
Well, we've got some wonderful negotiators.
That's pretty amazing.
You know, it is, but it's also a testament to the food and grocery product industry.
Yeah.
You know, they make their living feeding people, but they also know that not everyone has enough financial resources to be able to buy food. And so they're very generous about helping those who are less fortunate. And we're blessed to have some great relationships, both on the donated side and on the purchased product side, to be able to stretch our scarce resources way farther than one would expect.
It's quite an operation, and maybe you've been at the food pantry long enough that you know the website to give and a phone number?
I do, as a matter of fact.
This is fantastic.
It's godspantryfoodbank.org. That's by far the best way to reach us.
Say it again.
godspantryfoodbank.org, O-R-G. If you go online, there's a wonderful history of the organization. There's a page where you can volunteer if you're interested in helping us sort product or serve those in need. There's a page for donations. You click on a donate button. We make it really simple for people to make contributions to the organization. There's all kinds of wonderful stuff on the website.
I was going to bring up volunteering in the last couple minutes. I know of groups that they go to the food pantry and they volunteer. What do they do? So
the first thing is the importance of volunteering, right? I said earlier, our staff's 60. We get about 60,000 hours of volunteer time a year. That's 30 full-time equivalents. Our payroll is about $3 million bucks. So if we had another 30 employees, it'd be $4.5 million for payroll.
Thank God for volunteers.
So thank goodness for volunteers. It makes it work. They sort product. So think about a food drive in a grocery store, or a neighborhood food drive, or the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts. You're putting product in a bin. What we do with that product is we bring it back to the food bank, and we have volunteers help us sort it into categories so that those agencies can then order the food that they need rather than just getting a mix. So that's one simple thing that we do. Another thing that we do is we'll bring in bulk product. So envision a 2,000-pound tote of elbow macaroni. And what we do is we take that 2,000-pound tote with volunteers and we portion pack it into 2-pound bags. So envision volunteers with hairnets and smocks and gloves from a food safety standpoint, repacking that product into individual packings to serve people like you and I who might need food.
In the last 30 seconds, give the website again, please, for people that want to volunteer and make a donation.
godspantryfoodbank.org. Go to the website, check out our volunteer site, check out our donations page, and learn a little bit about the history of God's Pantry Food Bank.
Lexington is a great community, and it's taken Michael about 30 minutes to fit in and understand that you and your wife love it here. And I'm glad,
we love it.
I'm glad that you do.
The warmth of welcome has been amazing.
You're good for Lexington, and I hope we can be good for you too.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Paul Chartier. We'll be back next time on Heart of Gold.